So,
I've
welcome
just
back.
ignored it.
Welcome back to Night Flight. Yeah, Aurora is back, and we are also going to talk about frequencies and if the current frequencies support any type of bigger wars. Not that we have a lack of wars, but here in Germany, some people are a little bit on the edge because of what is going on. After Trump came in, our government collapsed a couple of hours later. The one guy that is most likely to come in, he wants to give Russia 24 hours to stop the war. Otherwise, he will send the Taurus weapon and allow Ukraine to attack Moscow and other parts of Russia. So there is a little bit of, yeah, I would say depression here, but people are still going to vote him in. I'm very sorry to say this, but that is the current state of mind here in this country. And they actually believe that things will be different with him. But yeah, I don't think so. Nothing will change. But the difference will be that on top of all that climate nonsense and what have you, yeah, there is a possibility that he will drag us into war with Russia because Russia said if this is going to happen, then Germany will be part of the war and we will respond accordingly. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm sorry to hear about the process that you've been going through. Uh, are you there? You are there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
That must be the communication.
Oh,
So, yeah, I can't see you. Okay.
so I'm back. I'm back. I don't know why my camera failed for a second. It's always with you.
Guess it's also always with you. Maybe we're very important people. Okay, so a few things came up from what I was hearing with what you were saying. First of all, I'm going to say as I saw it, uh, Ukraine and Russia are always arguing. They're always fighting. They're always fighting. So really, it's no difference. So if they say, okay, we're going to let this happen, then basically what he's saying is it's an ongoing thing. So there's no change in that. The frequency of their behavior, their patterns are showing me that there's no change in their behavior. So they are just only programmed to play out that same act,
Mhm.
that same play. With regards to the your government, as you say, it just collapsed. I'm saying, yeah, I can pick up on the collapse through your energy from what you were also telling me, but I can feel it now. What I'm picking up is that even though the government is in appearance as if it's collapsed, what is essentially going on in the background is that it might be a restructure. We also know that on an energetic level that they have been trying to force the great thingy, the great R reset. I'll just say it. You must decide how you want to, if you want to edit that part out. It might be dangerous to say it on YouTube. Who knows? Um, that they've been trying to force this great reset to take place over a period of 3 years. 2040 is the last part of their play on that information to come through. That's their target time. However, if you track back in time even further back, when the reset was supposed to happen was during the or after the great inoculation period, that it was supposed to step in straight afterwards, and it did not. There were a lot of things that actually destabilized it. So, in actual fact, what you're seeing is all of the frequency elements or those that held the frequency of that specific contract of the Great Reset, that it's being dismantled as we speak because they are essentially having to play the next part of the game. And this next part of the game is the imminent appearance of the frequency of war by speaking more about it on the public airwaves so that people will become emotionally invested into that exact process or program. However, I do sense, and this is just me sensing the energy as it is. I'm not making predictions at all. I don't believe in predictions. I'm just picking up on the energy as it is, and I'm just relaying it to you. That, and we don't know what may, how the energy would respond after our conversation, because energy is sensitive to energy, as we know. So an essential fact is that uh, the process in trying to continue with the program of the Great Reset, that it is the players that are playing in it is not playing anymore, because there is a destabilization in certain financial sectors, which are basically appearing as if they're wanting to push for a digital dollar. That's the word that's just come through my mind right now, which is perhaps a different version of Bitcoin, I suppose. I don't know. I just feel that the energy is different on that
The
scale. And then
CBDC,
there, sorry?
the CBDC, that is what
Okay,
they
okay,
call it, and that is programmable.
okay, okay. However, there's going to be contesting that radically, because it will climb for a few years and then it will basically stay in one place. I see a sideways movement for it. I don't see it going up like a normal thing. I see it sideways because there's a lot of tug of war of different states that might want to accept it, or state. When I say states, I'm saying countries that may want to accept it, whereas other states or the countries may try to continue with investment in minerals. So essentially, they're basically screwing the guys who wanted to destroy Africa for the mineral drain. And the guys who Africa are basically, that means South Africa included and everybody else involved. From what I'm seeing overall, is that there's going to be a challenging frequency that, let's say, there's going to be a frequency that will challenge that digital dollar, or whatever you want to call it. That's what I've just picked up on now with gold, with minerals, whatever. So these guys are basically screwing themselves now. Remember, they wanted to come into Africa, the entire continent, and drain it with from minerals, and everywhere else as well. They wanted to take oil. They wanted to drain Germany from the oil with withholding the oil and the gas. Is that not so? By putting pressure on you on a political level. So that's basically fragmenting itself out. So essentially, what I would suggest to do for you and for the people that stay there or are involved in this is to step back and essentially just look at the entire play, that it is essentially busy collapsing itself from the inside out, but they're trying to find other things to put in its place. And that's not happening either. I see a period of 2 to 5 years where, yes, you may be doing some investments and all of those things, but pull out then at the end of the fifth year, because then their entire structure will have become a white elephant. So this is just basically what I've just picked up from the energy as it stands. Call it a download if you wish. I think that was what it was.
Hmm. What do you make of Biden's announcement last night that he allowed the Ukraine now to use long-range weapons against Russia?
It's
I
been
mean,
like that all the time.
when I heard that, I thought he is a mean little guy, you know?
He's just been told to tell everyone that, but that's what I'm picking up on the frequency. I did not hear this. I didn't see it. Um, is that it's always been ongoing. He's just been told, tell them that. See what they say. The emperor needs to cover up his nakedness by bringing that in as a distraction away from, sort of like telling you there's a pig flying there. That energy range weapons have always been used. I mean, we know that from the Cold Wars. We've heard that, we know that it's been used. So there's no difference in that. as far as I'm aware.
No, there is a difference because Ukraine has now a green light to attack Moscow.
But they're not going to be able to do that because Moscow or Russia is still stronger in terms of it's essentially basically if you look at Ukraine, you're looking at a covert state in which the United States, are involved in. It's the same as Israel being a state of the Rockefellers, a created state, as opposed to the Palestinians. So we're looking at a lot of Russian eggs within eggs within eggs that are actually being given the same. They've been doing the same thing. It's not like they're being told that they've got a green light. They have been doing this. So it's not nothing new again, is what I want to say, because I'm picking up that it's been going on all the time. They're not going to be able to do that. They're just drawing the attention back to them because of something that's going on in Russia, something else is going on. So there's a distraction that's taking place. I do not see Ukraine being able to do that, but it's more like flexing is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing flexing the muscle to try and intimidate the same story that played out 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't even remember because it's, you know, I think when was the first story about Ukraine again? When did it happen again? Do you remember?
When Russia invaded, yeah, that
Yeah,
was
well, yeah.
February 22.
Okay. So this is exactly right. This is a 2 year period that it's now being shown up again. They literally do not have any other thought field experiment to play. They're playing the same card. They've just colored in a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there. Um, they're yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm reviewing the energy. I'm looking at Ukraine. There's no change in there. I'm sorry for the people in Ukraine because they're the ones that are always the last to know about what's going on where they live. But essentially, um, the same process is going to play out again with what happened with between Putin and them.
Hmm.
I'm seeing the same thing playing out unless people actually just stop engaging into that frequency. It isn't. This is a flexing of material power and frequency because it's a desperate drowning man that's happening as we speak,
And,
especially right now. Yeah,
mhm.
sorry.
And who is the drowning man?
The entire frequency, the agency that's running the show. I
Hmm.
would say that is what you can look at. I'm going to lump them all together and say all the guys that are pushing this information out. There is this. Let's say the guys that wanted to create the umbrella over the entire world to create a false world peace is the drowning man. There's never going to be a world peace. We have to look at it in that way because world peace is essentially a process in which the world will have to consent to particular frequency that is in control of them. That would be the new world order. That would be just another new world order. So essentially, you're looking at them who are trying to implement these ideas or these ideologies into a particular belief system. They need people's energetic focus on it so that it can happen. That's literally their last card to play. This is the last card to play because we have just entered into a new um, frequency in which the uh, planetary systems have gone into some type of alignment or something. Pisces has gone into this. I'm not an astrologer. I just know that it's like literally on the brink, on the step of Aquarius. I think that's where we're in now. I
Yeah,
think
on
we're just leaving Pisces now.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, he Pluto came back into Capricorn. And
that's right.
now into yeah, on 19th of
Mm,
November it will go back into Aquarius and will stay there for 20 years. And
exactly. This is yeah.
I personally think that we will see at the beginning of next year when the freedom fighters start really riling up, and I guess
Yeah.
what we have seen so far with certain African countries, what went on this summer in Kenya and on and on,
Mm.
that was nothing. That was a prelude, and I think um, it will manifest in a lot more countries because
It may. Yes.
people are sick and tired of all the lies.
Yeah, that is exactly why I'm saying people are they present the information as it is, and people can literally say, "No, I'm not accepting this bullshit. No, screw you. No." And they could just carry on doing their own thing. I actually saw a little bit of it, like you mentioned, of those certain countries in Africa. I saw a little bit of that, like thick neck behavior, showing, you know what, I'm not listening to you guys anymore. And that actually scared some people. And of course, no one spoke about it. Um, but definitely, you're right, because I do see a lot of that starting to well itself up, and rightly so. The angels stirred the water, so is the Aquarian age, where the angel is stirring the water for all of the impurities to come out. But I do not see what people are afraid uh, could happen. I don't see the apocalypse because it's really just a revealing of everything. From
Mm,
that is what I'm seeing, and this happens in our time now.
yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
revealing is definitely going on. And in
yeah,
that sense, you could say it's the best apocalypse ever.
yeah. For all the pocket watchers.
Yeah. Um, when one of the things that is always in the background and one of the goals from a minority,
Mm,
of course, is this merging between humans and machine, meaning transhumanism.
yeah.
Um, so I thought about this. The last two elections in the US, I'm talking about that. I was completely wrong. In 2016, I thought, yeah, Clinton will make it. Yeah. Next morning, I woke up and it was Trump. So 2020, I thought, yeah, it will be Trump again, and then it was Biden. So this time around, I had a feeling that Trump will win in a landslide. But I thought, what do I know? I'm always wrong. So, and then I thought, hmm, how did this happen? And now I'm going into speculation. I want to stress this. I'm not stating it as a fact.
Yeah.
But this transhumanist movement, um, there is a slight problem with promoting it to everybody.
Mm,
There is a huge chunk of people, millions and millions, who absolutely say no, no way are
yeah.
you going to do this. So, and then I looked at the steps that we saw in the recent past. I
Mm,
remember that. On when Twitter was still Twitter, that Elon
yeah.
Musk got a little bit of flack on Twitter
Mm,
for his Neuralink and, the merging with
yeah.
the computer and so on and so forth. So then he bought Twitter, and with it came the story of the savior of free speech. And that story I absolutely do not buy.
No,
But
I don't either.
yeah, yeah. But it was the story. So in that particular moment, we had a slight shift of perception
Mm,
towards Elon Musk. So,
mm,
and then he endorses Trump, what he never did before. and he even campaigns with him.
Yeah.
And then we had another shift of perception. Yeah. So the hero was born, but
Mm.
the goal with the merging of machine and human, that is not gone. So I was thinking maybe all of this was planned in a way to reel in those that um yeah naturally would go against it, and those people are usually, I would say, predominantly more what people would call on the right hand side of politics, more in the Trump camp.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I thought maybe this is what they are trying to do, with.
That's interesting.
And then on
Mm.
top of it, imagine now he and Vivek Ramaswamy, um, yeah, they will lead this government efficiency
Mm.
department. And
Yeah.
they already announced that they want to have it all wrapped up until June 2025, and then this department will be dissolved.
Mm.
So now imagine on top of that, they really make great strides in that direction and, you know, cut huge chunks of unnecessary positions and departments and what
Mm.
have you. And I would say that would definitely make the government more efficient, and it would run better if it's smaller. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be smaller, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so maybe that is an attempt to get those people that would naturally say no to this entire agenda to get them on their side. But maybe
Perhaps
I'm
you're seeing Perhaps you're seeing the entire Hegelian dialectics being played out step by step, because I actually see it as well from what you're
okay.
pointing out.
Mhm.
I definitely see it as well. So this is why it's so important for people to actually become like even more aware of what's going on, which I actually think people are. I think most people are very much very smart in terms of what's been going on with that strange bedfellow teammate team, whatever you want to call it, team robot. Um, yeah, Musk has always shown one side this, one side that, one side this, one side that. It's purposefully done even then. So what you're bringing up is definitely, it makes sense why they would be pushing for that particular agenda to come in. Yet, as you say, there's a chunk that's not interested in that at all. I don't actually see that whole thing playing out either. I've never seen it playing out. I've always thought, what a waste of a campaign. Um, there could have been so many other things done with that specific thing. But then again, as I said, there may not be any world peace, which I don't believe is something that I believe that's gonna try and push that through um, as an idea, you know, problem solution, whatever, yeah, something like that.
Problem reaction
But
solution. Yeah.
that's the one. That's the one. Yeah. I mean, it's been used to death, I suppose. But yeah, that's definitely it. They can't play it any other way. Um, with this Aquarian age on top of us, I do not see it lasting. Actually, I don't. Not
Mhm.
because of being perhaps naive or um, confused or anything like that. Just literally, I cannot see that the structuring is what they've been trying to do is actually strong enough to actually stand through, because it's just too many people that just don't give a damn about it, about those things.
Mhm.
You're always going to find the ones that do care about it, of course, but those people don't care about themselves either. So yeah, I'm simplifying it with what you said there. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, the Aquarian age, of course, also means that there will be great leaps forward in terms of technology.
There may be, yeah,
Yeah, last time around when it happened, the steam engine
that's
was
right.
invented. We had the American Revolution, the French Revolution. So, and, and even then, with the steam engine, it also had both sides. Yes, you could, transport goods and services faster from one point to the other instead of horses, but it also meant you could, you know, carry the slaves faster through the United States. It always has an upside and a downside. Yeah.
Yeah. This realm, this world requires those two frequencies to operate always in adversarial positions of one another.
Hmm.
Um, it is just a form of needing to seek the internal balance to be able to counter both of those elements, its impact on the consciousness by not falling for either this or that, but to actually essentially stay focused. Even more so, you know what they say, new levels, new devils. The entire human age has stepped into a higher frequency in terms of its own consciousness. That means even the devils are in a higher consciousness as well, or lower. I don't know. I don't know if you can get even worse than what they are. But anyway, fact is, I actually think that things are coming to a point now. That's what I'm seeing. So as you're saying with the revolutions and all of that stuff, yeah, revolutions. It was everywhere. It was here as well, everywhere in the world. But that was also because it was team agent, wicked agency that wanted to set 100 years plans ahead of time. Now they're running out of power. Literally, they're running out of. Let's just call it a spade, a shovel. They're running out of loosh. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of people give loosh anymore. I don't give a damn about it anymore. It's what it looks like.
Yeah. And they definitely, as you said, they plan to go after the entire COVID nonsense directly into, yeah, the full
Yeah,
spectrum dominance. But that was avoided. And I personally think they are lagging behind and not just a little bit.
yeah. What we need to keep in mind is that this realm in which we exist requires light to feed a an idea so that it becomes a belief system, so that it becomes a reality. And they know this. This is why they've got high councils in magic. It's always about the magic in the end of the day that they believe in, that they consider a metaphysical ability, such as looking at something and actually creating a frequency out of that for it to exist, as magic. When you asked me a while ago why am I vehemently against magic and why I don't believe it, is because it's a metaphysical experience that is inherent in every human being that is able to create something with intentions. If you want to have something happen, if I want to create a country's status to be a particular junk status, I will send out pictures to show how dirty and disgusting that country looks, even though it's not true. And the majority of people will look at that image and they'll keep seeing it and they'll keep seeing it. They keep seeing it. They keep seeing that poor little Ethiopian child being incredibly gaunt and hungry and starving. And everybody sees Africa as one giant blob of starvation, which you know and I know is not true.
Yeah.
And so they keep feeding that frequency. And then they were able to create a committee that was the 300 to invest in sub-Sahara Africa, because we need your money so we can invest in them in their minerals. Secret. So we'll keep showing the world, how poor they are. So they'll keep sending money in for the investments to take place so that they can harvest the minerals. And that's a type of brainwashing in itself. So let me come back to what I was saying about this realm being a magical place, which is in actual fact a metaphysical place, because we know that whatever you think, eventually, if you think it long enough, it becomes a reality. So it is up to us to focus on what we choose not to allow to come into our consciousness for that to happen. And I'm not saying run with your and become an ostrich, or close your eyes, that. I'm saying become
Don't look at the negative.
aware. Sorry.
As the new agers say, don't look at the negative.
Oh God, no, 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 no. That's also not what I'm saying. No,
Yeah, I
definitely
know,
not.
I know.
Look at the entire picture. Um, yeah. No, we're definitely not polarized. Definitely not. It's because of that. Don't look at the negative. That's why these things still exist, because it's all polarization. Like I said, you need two things. You need the belief of duality to create an adversarial opposing forces with one another at all times, instead of actually looking at what I'm talking about on my channel is about creating a balance within the awareness of your energy, which is light and dark within you. And you are essentially in the center point of those two aspects. And you can control those parts because both are part of you. Definitely not new age bullshit. Not sure. Not at all.
Yeah. So, in other
Apologies.
words, the challenge for us is to keep these two sides, the light and the dark, in us in balance.
Exactly. It's just, yes, exactly. And if you are in control of both of those sides of yourself, then you are able to learn how to essentially to be able to operate in a creative function as well. Then you are able to influence and create intentions that may be in support of yourself and those around you. You can alter the frequency of that reality around you. It has been done many, many times. And I know people that have been doing it and their lives change almost radically when they start to become an awareness of that. So this is why I'm saying, yeah, they're doing all these weird things around you. I don't want to say do this. I don't want to say do this. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying look at what they're playing out and then step back, become objective in what you're actually seeing as a bigger picture. Because when you start to see those things in a bigger perspective, you'll be able to understand that what they're playing out is whatever story. And once you see the story, they can't make the story happen because you see it. The
Mhm.
biggest thing that they use is subterfuge and secrecy. And if they can get away with the story, they can just sort of show you a little flash here and there. And it means they can still carry on with the story. But if you know the story and you say, Peekaboo, I see you, the story dies down.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that this dismantling of the nonsense narrative is happening faster and faster. Um, During the COVID years, the resistance was there pretty early on. And
Mm.
people dismantled the entire narrative from A to Z. Yet it it took years because they were very, very stubborn. And okay, they have the say, what is going on, mask, no mask, lockdown, no
Mm.
lockdown, and what have you. But the narrative itself was destroyed early on if you were vigilant.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as you said, in that moment when the narrative is destroyed, you see the story and the story doesn't stick. And so
Mm,
eventually, I guess we all knew it would collapse on itself. But
exactly.
but yeah, it took some time.
It did. Remember, the human race may not have had the chance, perhaps, to have been so pertinently made aware as now. I think if you go back in time, if you look at historical events, I think that most human nature or who was around, I think very few were able to basically step away from that and become unaffected by it. But perhaps because we don't have the actual factual reports of historical events, because we know that they history is made in the name of the victor, whoever that is. We may not really even know the full story of the historical event of a war, for example. But in this day and age, we are fully aware, and I think it's the first time for the a human race to actually experience the awakening of realizing actually, yes, it's true, bullshit can baffle your brain. You must just make a choice now and decide whether you want to go with it or not,
Do you
type of
think
thing.
do you think that we are living in a simulation?
That's a good question. Someone else asked me that the other day. I actually wanted to say, I thought about that question. It is simulated for certain purposes,
Hmm.
but it is not entirely a full simulated experience. No. I actually believe that if you, and I believe is a strong word in this case, that if you step back and become fully empowered of yourself or in control of yourself, as in fully in control, then you are a rogue element inside of a realm or a reality with multiple or multidimensional realities in between that can be partly simulated and some can be simulated. So it's not that simple. That's what I see. Because I've seen places where it really looks like a Pinocchio story, like I don't know, like weird, where people do certain things and you see them operate in certain ways, and there's just that lacking of some sort of consciousness that the energy is gone. Let me give you an example. I went to visit a particular country a few years ago, and this country's energetic frequency was so dead that it was as if you were inside of a room with no air in it.
Hmm.
And all of the people in that place operated in a very programmed behavioral pattern, almost like a hive without being aware of it. This is why I can see sometimes you'll get pocket realities or pocket simulated things, places, and events. So it's not cut and dry. It's part and part because this realm is changing all the time. There's a frequency of the etheric element around the world that continuously moves the energy of the world. Like I was explaining in our first interview about the world being not fully round, but like a sponge moving all the time. So it's gonna definitely give you parts simulated and parts that are not simulated. The events, even in certain people, might be like that as well.
Mm. And
You can,
how
uh,
would we distinguish between the ones the ramps that are simulated and yeah, the natural ones?
that's also a good question. I would distinguish it by looking for the frequency of life. And
Hmm.
where I don't find the frequency of life and I don't feel moved internally, then I know that there's a problem. That
Hmm.
is a place that is devoid of frequency of life. And you actually get places like that. You may know of some places like that, even.
Hmm.
Maybe you have not really taken time, or maybe you have. But
Hmm.
I know of places like that. as a fact.
Yeah. Sometimes I get comments, when, as you probably know, I do not subscribe to any religion,
Mm,
and but I definitely do see intelligent design around me. Yeah, so
absolutely, yeah.
I cannot subscribe to the idea there was a Big Bang and, and then everything, just developed as it is. So,
Mm,
and I can understand that when people say, yeah, where is this creator? Does he not care what is going on here? And then, of course, you go into, depending on what spiritual tradition or religion you are following, then people will tell you, yeah, well, there is a plan, and now is end times, and uh, but I'm not saying they are all stupid or something. That is not what I mean. But still, I have questions there. For instance, why would any king leave his kingdom for 2000 years and longer? That doesn't make any sense to me. I so and then somebody during a Patreon meeting said to me, maybe we are in the sandbox. You know what I mean? When
yeah.
you when you can probably explain that better. It's a computer term, and what is
Yeah,
happening
it is.
in the
Yeah.
sandbox doesn't affect the surroundings. That is what I understand. So maybe you can speak to that. Is it just like creator shrugged and couldn't care less, or what is going on here?
Well, first of all, my personal opinion on that question is who says that the king has left his castle?
Mm,
Who says that that's happened? Because if that was the case, there would be absolute chaos,
hmm
right? And in that way, if there was so much chaos and it always returns to one frequency of order or balance, then chaos needs to return to itself back to become order again. Okay, that is what I see. The sandbox theory, it just slots into the simulation theory because the sandbox is where you throw a lot of programs in, you beta test it. Um, you create a partition on your computer, and then you can, do a few programs here and there. Right. If a person believes he's in a sandbox, then that is where he is.
Okay.
Because the way that the reality operates is based on consciousness and awareness to what is permitted into the spirit, which is a frequency of energy, which is loosely translated as light. And light in itself, when it looks or is peering or projected into the frequency or the materia of this realm, then it starts to create a feedback. Order into chaos, chaos returning back to order, sight into ether, and image returning back to thoughts in that process. So when I said, who says that the Gadio has left his house? I'm saying who can prove that? Because if that was the case, why is the awareness of the external focus so intent on the house being empty? What is inside is projected into external reality.
Mhm.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
well, okay. Some people would tell you that, yeah, the king in that particular case, Jesus, is not
Mm.
reigning here and he has to come back. So if he has to come
It's
back,
not
then,
material, yeah,
yeah, that
yeah.
then it means he's not here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to come back.
However, the frequency of kindness and caring and doing kind things without having the name of Jesus is still here.
Mm,
So this is why I'm saying who says that it is gone. Person who believes in the actual man who was named Jesus or Jesus or everyone they want to call him was a physical man. But I see that the frequency of kindness was really the archetypal energy that was really referred there. So
mm,
in other words, there may have been more than one Jesus
mm,
and still is and still will be because kindness will always exist. Kindness and caring and doing good things for people and self-care and all of those things, those nurturing things are always there. As you say, that the intelligent design of kindness is here, is still here in this world.
mm,
Yeah. So the man may have died. All men die. They go to the earth and then they become compost. Um, the focus on the physical or the external reality is the problem. It's not a physical, it is a physical world with an archetypal metaphysical attributes to it.
mm,
That's what it is about. So, yeah, it's like the judge that is eternal forever. The judge exists as a forever archetype, but Judge Brown doesn't exist anymore. Brown, Judge Brown, the man Brown, he died. John Brown died, but the judge is there. So, metaphysical attribute.
mhm. Do you think there is anything to the concept of what people call a sanction? Or is it depending on how you define it?
Ascension, you ascend if you ascend a flight of stairs.
Mm-hmm.
So ascension in itself has got a new age
Mm-hmm.
connotation to it. It means it is loosely translated from a Christian, I don't know, belief that is called rapturing as well. Uh, I don't believe in one day everyone's going to fly up and drop their clothes on the floor. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah, me neither.
Um, no, I understand ascension to be how it should be understood. If you really want to use that word, is actual awareness. You ascend in knowledge when you read a book or when you discuss things. We ascend in wisdom because we are discussing things.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That is how I always understood it. Or let's say I defined it for me personally. You learn
yeah,
something, you have ascended a little bit. You learn another thing, and on it goes. And
exactly.
if there is a limit here in this lifetime, I don't think so. It depends on you, how eager you are to comprehend certain things, and you can come a long way. But this a sanction in terms of now we are all going to 5D and then we are in La La Land. No, that doesn't make sense to me.
No, no, no. That doesn't work for me either. The idea about that. What I always say, do you want to become a mushroom then? Or do you want to become something that is non-corporeal, that you don't have mass, but you live in some sort of stasis of, I don't know, jelly inside of a box? Because that is the belief that is related, also loosely translated from this whole New Age propaganda, which was released many years ago, many years ago, hundreds of years ago. But the fact is, this whole 5D idea belief system, it's more than just that. You can't limit that. It's like insult. You insult the intelligence. of the system itself. There are multiple levels of dimensional experiences that you have. You may go up a field and find a little sheep standing somewhere there, and you're looking at the mountain, and you are suddenly moved by its beauty, and you have just literally reached a higher note of spiritual awareness to peace or whatever, and you cannot give that a dimension, because if you're in a multi-dimensional process or existence as a metaphysical being, there are no places like dimensions. You just experience expansion and contraction of growth. Hopefully more expansion than contraction, but yeah, expanding.
So, in other words, it is up to us to create
Yeah,
what we want to see.
all the time,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, and that is where I guess humanity is still a little bit stuck. Um, a lot of people still waiting for a savior, a liberator, somebody who is doing the good fight for them, and then everything will be hunky-dory. I think we are still a little bit like a toddler.
Infants,
What?
yeah, infants,
Yeah.
yeah, infancy. Oh. If you want
Where's
to
that
play in the
coming
sandbox,
from?
yeah.
Where's
It's
that?
a it's a Christian thing. Remember, it's a Christian thing. It borrows from the Savior having to die as a martyr and then suddenly to rise and become this hero, and everyone wants the guy to be on a cross or a stone or a rock or a this or a that. I mean, they've used all kinds of archetypes, and this is not derogatory to anybody who is religious at all. I'm not speaking about the religion itself. I'm talking about the symbolism and how it is used to continuously create an external expectation for something to happen. And
Mm,
so long as there is an external expectation of something externally to happen, there will never be a reflection internally of actually creating something to
mm,
happen. So as long as they're looking for someone that can be a hero, that hero will unfortunately have a tragic end, because all heroes in all stories have a tragic end, sadly. I
mm,
mean, the last guy was crucified by his own people. That was a tragic end as well. Supposedly all the people that care for him, who all, none of them came and challenged the judges. Really? Really? Has no one actually thought of gone even further in questioning, would you let that man go hang on that, type of thing? So much for hero and so much for a martyr. So that program is coming to an end, whether people want to believe it or not. This is why I'm saying that you experienced that strange, depressed letdown of a feeling when you were outside and you said you sensed it. And I'm saying to you, yeah, because of an external expectation that was not met anymore. And so the same frequency is happening as we speak right now.
mm,
That hero is not there. He will never be there. There may be impersonators or people who what try to become heroic in what they do, but everyone knows that a hero, he suffers in the end. So there's not going to be a lot of those. I don't see it happening. I see people actually stepping up and doing their own things and not making a big deal about it, and quietly moving along and doing certain things. And if there's a problem with the person that steals in their neighborhood, then they'll all go and they will go and challenge that person. I actually see that happening here. So it is something that is happening.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, these days you definitely can see that a lot of people are hoping for a political savior, in this particular case, Trump. And, they put him on a pedestal where he does not belong. And that actually, prepares you for disappointment.
Yeah, because there's an external expectation of somebody that has to meet some goal. So this is why I keep saying, and why I thought it was so important to explain that it is more important to focus on the personal self and to keep building on the consciousness and the connection and the relationship of the spirit inside of you, because that is going to be the same story. Whether you look outside, oh, it's a different guy, it's the same story, the same program. As long as there's an audience, and the play needs an audience to feed its story to. So as we speak, they are rigging up a new play. They always rig up a new play. I'm saying that's just what it is. It is always the same. There is no change. They don't know how to create anything new. They cannot create. Only we can create, because we don't feed into that if we are focused internally in ourselves.
Hmm.
Our conversation right now is creating consciousness in a form of a feedback between ourselves, and we are pondering on things. We're actually having a metaphysical, scientific, philosophical conversation about life. It is
Hmm.
not even an interview, it is just a conversation.
Hmm.
And that is how wisdom is built. Yeah,
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 actually, I have to say that I like so-called interviews that are more like a conversation.
yeah. So do I.
Yeah. And although I have to say, I did enjoy the occasional meltdown after the election results
Oh
from
my gosh,
certain,
yeah, I saw the meltdown.
yeah, from certain people and the media, especially. Um, it is so hilarious, and this nagging question, what went wrong?
Well, I'll tell you why it was assured for him to have actually gotten in there was because a few months ago there was a assassination attempt,
Hmm.
and martyrdom frequency was initiated, and then the martyr and then the hero. It
Yeah.
was kind of predictable that it would happen.
Yeah. When that happened,
Sadly.
it
Yeah.
was during summertime, I remember. When that happened,
Right.
I thought to myself, Trump just won the election.
Yeah. Well, either way, I always say this to my friends. Um, would you want an enemy that you don't know, or do you want an enemy that you kind of know? Which one is the better one for you, the lesser of two evils? Because that is how you need to look at it. Which one do you know? Which one don't you know? Wouldn't you rather have an enemy that you know his behaviors, their behaviors? Be easier to handle then. That's
Yeah,
what I'm seeing them playing it out that way. Or you choose none,
yeah,
nothing.
yeah. And if you know your enemy and you
Right.
know yourself, and that is the
Yeah.
important part, and you know yourself,
And
then
you know yourself, if you know who you are, then you will definitely not have a problem, will you?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, yeah, Kamala, I don't know. Apart from her word salads, um, I didn't see much of a campaign there. I mean, the Americans tried, not only tried, they said it flat out. It's the economy, it's the inflation, it's the open border. Yeah. And
Yeah. Yeah.
she ran on abortion, our democracy, and Orange Man bad. There is a disconnect.
There wasn't actually any, if I could put it in this way, is there was she agreed to play the devil's advocate to oppose him so that the colors look better, or the red and the blue pill is whatever. Now this time it was the red pill that was chosen. Last year it was the blue pill. They are always in two opposing colors. It's the same pill with two different colors to it. I'm
Yeah,
calling it the pill because people think it's the Matrix thing, right?
yeah, and you
Even the
have
Matrix story is fake.
eh, eh,
No.
okay. So, and you also have these particular colors, red, blue, white, as the pharaonic crowns.
Yep, there you go.
Mhm. It
Right.
never changed.
Yeah. It's always Babylonian, which becomes Egyptian, which becomes whatever. It stays the same. Masonic, Rosicrucian is red, Masons are yellow. So you go, their lodge is blue. They are all in operating in the same colors all the time. That's why I keep saying there is no change. There is nothing new happening. There is only the same stories that are being played out over and over and over and over because of the frequencies that they keep wishing to bring in. They only get away with it because this every day there's someone new who might believe it. They are eternally hopeful in selling the same ice cream.
So did I hear you correctly a couple of seconds ago when you said the Matrix story is fake?
The story about the Matrix movie. That
Ah,
story is false. I mean, choose the red pill or the blue pill, Neo. Neo chooses whatever color pill, and it's still the Matrix. Choose Kamala or Trump. It's a red pill or a blue pill. Which one is it? It's still the Matrix. See, two
yeah.
sides of one coin, sadly. In your hands, or you don't have to use the coin as a token. You can simply put the coin down and step back and become objectively internally connected, and then you are able to see much more than whatever they're showing you. You can see beyond the entire idea of the matrix. You see beyond all of that because you are focused internally, because what is internal is your spirit. Remember, the light, the frequency. Light is a word for frequency and measurement, obviously, as you say, and as we say, the light and the dark, or the whatever you want to call it, you're in control of both parts. You have it already inside of you. You don't even have to be involved in this place. You just function here because you're here, because you're needing to learn about who you are so that you can get on with the next leg of your experience. Whatever it is, you want to go back to the creative force, then go back to the creative force or go somewhere else. You can do that. You will have the free choice to do that, or fall in line and just go along like all the minions do, and then just come back again over and over and over.
Mm.
Choice, free will.
Do you think
The,
that
the yeah.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
uh,
Go ahead.
do you think that one of the purposes of consciousness is to experience and explore that spirit, to come to terms with the fact that it starts within?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If the person stops fighting with himself, he'll then eventually realize, yeah, eventually it comes to that realization. Eventually, after much fighting.
Mhm. I also think that the internal fight is sometimes expressed in, you know, substance abuse and or you become a yeah, let's say a victim of narcissistic abuse again and again and again. Yeah, until you
Yeah,
pull the plug.
yeah, exactly. And then once you've pulled the plug, you're a changed person. It just happens naturally like that. That is your natural evolving into a higher state of awareness that, oh, okay, I must not date men like that or women like that.
Mhm.
You've now ascended. You have now reached your ascension type of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think, the it changes anyhow. It might not be for everybody, but let's say in my 20s, 30s, it was kind of important to me to be in a relationship. These days, I couldn't care less.
Mm. Most likely because you already know what you experienced when you did eventually experience it, and that was enough for you.
Hmm.
You don't want to worry about it because what you had was good for you, was good enough for you, perhaps. It
Yeah.
is relationships are just a form of um, helping a person to understand themselves and perhaps also to learn about love in the process. Some people don't have anyone ever, and they go through life without that person, and they still learn the same lessons. They
Mhm.
still learn about love and all of those things. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it is.
because
Yeah.
there are different types of love.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And perhaps to stop being obsessed with the self or whatever the condition is of that connection, of that relationship, however it is.
Yeah. And I think Hollywood did a great job to mess it up,
Oh
our
my
idea
God.
of love. Mm.
Yeah, totally. Um, in every possible way. Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because usually people, what they immediately think of is romantic love, but that is just one
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah. That is the expression of that love that you feel for that person. But the actual love that I refer to, the I think the Greeks call it agape or whatever,
Agape.
but I don't know. Yeah, is the peacefulness you have. Like I use the example when you climb the mountain and you see this beautiful sunrise and you feel at peace. That is that love. That is that you can translate to love for what you are experiencing while you're observing something that is unique. And that is the type of frequency or energetic experience you are supposed to have because if you were not supposed to have that experience, you wouldn't feel it. It would not happen to you.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the ancient Greeks, they had four words. They had not just the word love. Agape is the one that you just described. Then you had
Mm,
Storge, that is the love between family members.
right.
Then you have Eros, that is the romantic love, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have Philia. Philia is the love between friends.
Right. So there you go. I mean, so that already in itself explains the multifaceted aspect of love in itself. I think it's amazing that you actually brought that up. That's really interesting. It's good that you brought that up.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It
just,
means we are we are metaphysical. That's
yeah,
why there's so many words for it. Yes.
yeah. And because we have condensed it down to just one word,
Yeah.
it starts to be a little bit confusing.
Yes. This is why I wanted to make a definition when I was explaining about it the first time. I called it self-care,
Mm.
which then translates into one little action that you do for yourself in terms of healing or something good towards something better. So, in other words, taking care of yourself or planting something that you know you can actually respectfully look at. So it would nurture that feeling of um, self care, which is reflected in self love. Yes. And then self love then eventually becomes more and more faceted, like you've just referred to love in those frequencies. And then it becomes the deeper part. So that is the natural progression of love. Self care starts with doing something that is healthy for yourself, obviously within measure, within a balanced way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 And I would say self-love is the the first condition that you have to meet before you can love somebody else. And I'm not talking about
Yeah.
selfishness. So some
Yeah.
people think self-love has to be selfish. No, no.
Yeah, there seems to be a misconception with self love as being erroneously identified as narcissism or self importance. And I always say that there's a difference. If you ever really wanted to know the difference between self love and self importance, and when I say self importance, I'm talking about um, narcissism, okay, is that if you can love yourself without hurting another person, then yeah, then it's self-love. If you love yourself but it's at the cost of another, then that's narcissism. That's sort of a basic rudimentary way of looking and try to see the difference. So if you see that, then definitely there's no excuse, there's no
The
reason to be in error about it.
narcissism that can become very confusing as well. I mean, the what do they call it? This psychiatric book, DSM or something like that. DSM-5 is now
Yeah,
out.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I've heard of it.
and they have like I don't know, 50 or a little bit more than 50 different traits
Versions.
that would define narcissism.
Yeah.
And not every narcissist checks every box. It's as simple as
No, of
that.
course not. It's one great
So,
mess.
so to make it simple, I always have to make it practical and simple. I boil it down to three things that are always there, no matter if they check 40 more boxes in that book or not. What you will always see is lack of empathy,
Yeah,
exploitation, and entitlement.
exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
and you can add the psychopathy to it as well.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's good. That's very good.
And
Yeah.
plus, if you find yourself all of a sudden, out of the blue, researching narcissism, it's a good pointer that something might be wrong in your life.
Yeah, where you're worried about somebody in your life.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
Because usually it might be the case here and there, but usually people don't start researching it because everything is wonderful in their life. It
Yeah.
usually starts when they have a feeling that there is something very wrong with a particular person in their life, but they can't
Mm.
really put the finger on it, what it is. It usually
Yeah.
starts with a feeling, oh, I always have to walk on eggshells around that person. Yeah.
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 And then it
Most
usually,
people, yes. I'm sorry I interrupted you there.
no, no, no. And then it starts from there. And
Yeah.
that is what leads you to researching it.
Yeah. I was going to say most people are in denial about the person that they are with, that who is a narcissist. First of all, they are in denial about that. I've seen that. People don't want to accept that about the people that are in their lives. Yeah. It's a hard journey for people like that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, our society is breeding a lot of it.
Sadly so, yeah. But they are also able to have a choice to actually bring that sort of frequency into this world or not. The parents are, I have to say, responsible for whatever is being brought in there. Um, yeah, you can have a choice. If you, I actually think if you, there's a guilt in some ways in certain people for choosing for their toddlers certain meals. So they let the toddler have to make an adult decision about a meal, a potato or a jacket potato or a chip or whatever. That I think is a bit of a problem because um, there's no awareness of an adult choice to be made. There is an actual fact zero awareness, and only if you ask me a question about do I want a potato or a jacket potato or a chip, then I would think that you're forcing me to do something which makes me feel as a child that my boundaries are suddenly gone and I feel unsafe.
Hmm.
Because all kids look distressed when they're being asked a question like that. I've seen it at all ages. So, yeah, that is something that has to be approached, I suppose. Yeah, don't give too much choice. Just let the child learn about choices later on when it's appropriate, I suppose, is what I want to say.
Hmm. Yeah, putting in good food at an early age is very important, and it can prevent a lot of problems for that child
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
in mental, in physical development, all sorts of things. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you let, of course, children will pick the ice cream, the pizza.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying. I mean, wow, who's not gonna pick an ice cream or a pizza or whatever, you know?
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you can never have a pizza, that is also something balance.
I keep saying it. Balance all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because some people then, I like it if people want to get healthier. I like that, but don't go overboard.
No, well, yeah, obviously don't overkill the whole thing. Just do what is within reason. And the
Yeah.
way to maintain the reasonable balance is to think for yourself in a logical, not a logical way, but a part logical, common sense manner. Common sense meaning, I think it's something that started to die out. Uh, I suppose the common sense about needing to learn that if you step outside, this can happen if you, unless you do X, Y, and Z. Da, 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 da. In other words, the ability to think for the self is what was slowly being removed. And that again is just another reflection of removing your focus away from what is inside of you. Again, you are forced with your eyes out so that you are creating something in the material realm for the consensus to happen. People
Hmm.
underestimate the power of being a human in this world. But if you want to see how powerful humans are, just look at what can be created already, just by looking at what's being presented everywhere, or choose not to accept what you're seeing and create things internally for yourself so that you are unaffected by these things outside of you. I'm not saying become a Gnostic and live like it's the end of the world and the world is evil, because that's not what Gnostics believe. I say don't become affected by it. You can walk there, you can do whatever you have to do, you can go and visit whomever you want to visit, but just don't become affected by it. Use your common sense, use your internal balance, be aware of what you are projecting into the world. Are you going to forward this terror message that someone just forwarded to you from some sort of random number that you don't know because you're scared? And so that means because you're scared, it means you're going to have to go quickly run and climb into your bunker underground so that you are safe and forward the message along because you have uh, PTSD or stress or whatever. And there's that. Like I said, you keep feeding those things that keep wanting that energy from you. There's a choice in accepting that terror message or idea that's being presented.
Mm.
Switch off the TV, switch off the radio, switch the phone off, don't sleep next to the phone. Common sense things, logical things, which seems
Yeah.
to be a bit missing, I suppose.
I
Some people, not all.
I never
Mm.
had the desire to own a bunker. Never.
I was intrigued, I have to tell you, but that's because I've always liked cave like sort of things because I
Mm.
always thought it was intriguing. But no, not really. More out of intrigue and curiosity rather than anything else. So I
Mm.
think it was quite fun as a child. And in the treehouse, there's a bunker underground type of thing. But no, no, it kind of panders into the frequency of this whole doomsday idea, and out of that as well. Um, yeah, I mean, I think we can boil it down to basically like what you were saying about those check boxes. We can look at it in the same way as what's being sold in the world as an idea for people to believe in or not. It really is something that can either trigger you into giving energy into it or not. But if you're in control of both parts of yourself or what is inside of you, and you are building a healthy relationship with yourself inside of you, then you are able to see miles and miles and miles ahead, and you become a rogue agent of this realm. But you become untouchable. Yeah, and then you leave, and then you're done, and then you go on with life.
You leave and then you're done and you go on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would say these are wonderful final closing words. I thank you so much for coming. I really enjoy our chats. And
Thank you for
yeah,
having me.
guys, that was it. And we see you on the next one.